Call the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, April 10th, 2012 to order. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we take roll.
Commissioner Bushy?
Here.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Here.
Commissioner Perry?
Here.
Commissioner Rubino?
Here.
Mayor Costelli?
Here. We're all here. Consideration of the following minutes. This is the next agenda item. Special City Commission meeting held Tuesday, March 8th, 2012, and regular City Commission meeting held Tuesday, March 13th, 2012. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the minutes of the Special City Commission meeting held Tuesday, March 8th, 2012, and the regular City Commission meeting held Tuesday, March 13th, 2012 be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Questions, comments, corrections? May we take a vote?
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is the March 2012 disbursement report. Amy.
Payroll and accounts payable was provided to all of you prior to the meeting for the month of March. Payroll was $51,109.48, and accounts payable was $544,429.33, of which $186,837.91 were in tax liabilities.
Any questions as to the disbursement report?
Mr. Mayor, I have one thing. At last month's meeting, Commissioner Krzyjak had a question about disbursement to Brylar.
Yes.
And I did look it up after the meeting. That was for full DPW services. And one thing I'll bring your attention to is the description line item. There's only so many characters, and sometimes the very first thing may be a minor portion of what that bill is for, and it happened to be that month $93,000 was like the cost of cutting down a tree.
Right.
So I just wanted to let you know that I did follow up with that, and that's how that was explained.
Thank you, Sherry.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the March disbursement report be approved as noted.
Is there support?
Right. Perry.
All right, you got your name down. You get it. May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the mayor's proclamation recognizing the 80th anniversary of the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club. Sherry and then Amy. Because it's got too many words for me.
Yes, it's lengthy, but I am very pleased to ask the City Commission to recognize the 80th anniversary of the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club. We have a resolution this evening that pretty much summarizes the history of the Women's Club. I know some of the ladies are here this evening, and it's my recommendation that the proclamation be presented to the group after it is read into the record.
Amy.
Mayor's proclamation, whereas the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club, PRWC, has a rich and endearing history in the city of Pleasant Ridge. Founded in 1932 for the purpose of doing civic work for the less fortunate and to serve as a social group for women, and whereas as part of its mission, the Women's Club generously donated to the community since its beginning, and its history includes a little-known fact that in 1938, the PRWC held the community's first rummage and bake sale, earning $21.85 and $19.82 respectively. And whereas demonstrating its dedication to the community during World War II, the Women's Club held special fundraisers to support the troops, selling hundreds of gift boxes of candy, nuts, and cigarettes to the sending to the Pleasant Ridge soldiers, right, that were overseas, purchased war bonds to support funding for the military equipment, and volunteering thousands of hours with the Red Cross, sewing and knitting robes, pajamas, slippers, sweaters, hospital bags, and supplies that were donated to local hospitals for our soldiers. And whereas, as far back as 1940, the Women's Club petitioned the City Commission to provide space to build a new community center, and in 1959, city leaders solicited the Women's Club for its input in planning construction of a new community center, which was built in 1960. Whereas the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club has always been willing to furnish much-needed equipment and supplies for use at the community center, some of which included a refrigerator, dishes, carpeting, drapes, just to name a few. And whereas the Women's Club is rightfully proud of its successful college scholarship program dating back to 1943, when the General Federation of Women's Clubs of Oakland County solicited funds for a nursing scholarship due to a shortage of nurses. And whereas the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club College Scholarship Program has awarded many scholarships to deserving students living in Pleasant Ridge and the surrounding Ferndale School District communities, a program that is open to all students in the area, whether in public or private school. And whereas the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club will proudly celebrate its 80th anniversary this year, and whereas those generous hearts and dedicated spirit that was shared by the club members so many years ago is still present among members today. Now, therefore, I, Ralph A. Castelli, Jr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, I'm reading this, I tender this proclamation to the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club to recognize all their contributions during their 80 years of existence, and to acknowledge the influence for good accomplished by this organization by promoting community spirit, selfless dedication to others, and empowering young women to be proud to serve their community. And finally, on behalf of the entire City Commission and all the citizens of Pleasant Ridge, I do hereby extend a sincere congratulations on this 80th anniversary of the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club, and a wish for many more successful years.
I hope this passes by more than 3-2, is there?
Mayor Castelli, I move the mayor's proclamation recognizing the 80th anniversary of the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club be approved as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Krzyjak?
Yes.
Mayor Castelli?
Yes, motion carries. Now, there are two things special about this, other than the whole proclamation. It's the first proclamation we've ever done already framed. And you can actually read my signature, because I practiced it several times. So the two of you can come up. Pat and Pam. And whoever else.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Yes. I just want to say that I did some research recently, and from 1990 to the current time, the Pleasant Ridge Women's Club has donated over $50,000 in scholarship funds.
Wow.
Looks like I loan this to you until the 19th. And on the 19th, I'll officially give it to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And we're a whole lot of fun.
Thank you.
Room here. Next item is governmental reports. Elaine's not here, so the fire chief's getting up.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, I'd just like to bring up to speed, our community emergency response team is doing very well. We're about a little over a fifth way through the training. We have over 56 people involved, quite a few Pleasant Ridge residents, and probably early summer we'll be ready to respond if anything occurs. We have all the radios and fire extinguishers, everything's been purchased, and looks like we're getting some more help from the Michigan State Police and the Homeland Security Division, so they're giving me all the things I need to support the team.
Chief, if you could back up some and give the background of what this is for people
Yes.
who haven't heard before.
CERT, or Community Emergency Response Team, is a federal program. It started in California, and it's basically the old civil service defense teams kind of revamped and brought about with all the disasters that occurred in the United States. So the CERT team is civilians volunteering their time that are trained how to mitigate small gas leaks, small fires, do first aid and that. So when there's a disaster, much like the scope of what we had last summer, and a lot of people may be hurt, a lot of stuff might be damaged. Civilians can go out and start handling it. As these members bump into each other, they format their team, and then once they bump into a police officer or firefighter, we bring them under the scope of the incident command umbrella, and we dish them out radios, and then we can assign them to do things as needed. So it augments our force by that extra 56 people, which with the 3 communities, we were stretched out thin. At one point, I had 1 firefighter in a truck in Royal Oak Township. We had a truck up here with a couple guys, so it was very well needed, and it wouldn't matter about the economic factors and how much has been reduced from police and fire departments. Any disaster anywhere, we're going to be overwhelmed rather quickly, so it's a smart thing to do regardless of the economic times.
Thank you. Questions of the chief? Don't go away right away. Questions? Chief, Ted, did we pick any of that up on audio with the microphone?
I believe we did.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Other governmental reports? Mr. Tiger.
Commission. I'm Dave Tigert, I live at 14 Oakdale. I am one of the 2 representatives to the Huntington Woods Pleasant Ridge Library. My co-art, Stacy Stetcher. And I'm here to voice a concern. In the last Ridger, there was a family event planned that was being put on by the Friends of the Huntington Woods Library here at our rec center as part of the communal activity between the 2 cities sharing library services. Every resident in the city also received a copy of the Huntington Woods Friends of the Library newsletter, which also listed this event. It's been on the calendar up in Ridge for I think the last couple of months. I discussed this, or Ms. Haig discussed this with the City Commission the last time we were together and presented our semi-annual reports about the library and upcoming events. And I thought, this is fine, this is cool, this is going to happen. And this is not an inexpensive event for the Friends to take on. This is not any cost to any citizen, and it is using their money that they've raised through book sales and through donations as part of the outreach and communal effort between the 2 cities. Well, I noticed there was a dragon in the park, and then came to find out that the dragon was promoting a Friends of the Ferndale Library event, which just happens to be on the exact same day, and also happens to be during the exact same times as our event up at the rec center. Now, this kind of conflict, I have no problems with Ferndale Library doing library things. I do have a conflict when we are promoting conflicting events, particularly when we are providing part of our tax money and our other monies to Huntington Woods Library as part of our commitment to the joint operation of Huntington Woods and Pleasant Ridge Library Services. I also have a difficulty because both Stacy and I have been on the library board for a number of years, and I think it's known to the commission who we are and what we do. And this kind of consideration of library services and library conflict, I would have really appreciated a heads up. So maybe we could have said to the other people, like, can you do it a different day? I mean, this has been a long planned event. So running head to head with another semi-event with Ferndale really caused me a lot of concerns, and I would have appreciated some information ahead of time so I could have said maybe we don't need to promote this at this point in time since it's in conflict with what we're already doing. I'm open to questions or anything else.
Well, I'll turn that one over to Sherry.
The dragon being delivered last Thursday with very little notice, no notice, is my responsibility. I am aware of the event that the city has planned with the Huntington Woods Library. This is not being promoted in conflict with that. There is an advertisement about the event. It could not be moved because that is actually a declared World Reading Day. The Friends of the Ferndale Library approached us and asked basically to use the green space on Woodward Avenue to display the dragon. It ties in with a story. If you haven't read about it yet, there is some information available about it.
I went on their website and read the information.
And unfortunately, they approached us at the very last minute, and the dragon had to be delivered 2 days later. So there was really no time to notify anyone. It's a great story. It's a wonderful program. It is a fundraising event for the Ferndale Library, but they are not, there was no intention to be in conflict with anything Pleasant Ridge was doing. They weren't even aware of it. The firing up events do not happen on the day of our event. They are doing it on Friday the 13th and Friday the 20th. The Dragon is not moved to the Ferndale Library for their event, and that's something that has also been planned, I think, for a year or
Sherry,
so.
I looked online, and it says Celebrated Day of Books and Roses, Sunday, April 22nd, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right.
Okay.
They have an event at the library that
Right.
day.
We have an event that day also.
Yes.
Our library, up here.
Yes.
And I guess we're trying to say to people, well, you know, go here, go there, what?
I think the people that support the Friends of the Ferndale Library and the people that they have contacted will attend the Ferndale event and probably would not have attended our event. I think the residents of Huntington Woods and Pleasant Ridge that were going to attend our event are going to attend our event. The Dragon doesn't come into that, either one of them.
I guess I'm being not understanding. It appears to me that we've got a conflict between two events simultaneously occurring, both supporting libraries, both appealing to people who like to read and who support libraries.
But they were going to happen anyway.
I understand that, but Pleasant Ridge was not promoting it.
Correct. Pleasant Ridge was promoting the Huntington Woods event.
Yes.
And that's all they have been promoting.
Well, Godzilla promotes the other event. I think that's what...
Particularly when it's sitting out in the middle of Woodward.
Yes, I understand that.
Can I make just a comment?
Stacy, if you can come to the
Yes,
microphone.
speak and tell who you are, please, Stacy.
Stacy, please come to the microphone. So,
I'm coming. Stacy Stutcher, 85 Amherst. Could this display not have happened in Ferndale since it on Ferndale land, since it concerns Ferndale and
Yes.
it, I feel the same way Dave does. It is a conflict. It's implying that we belong to the Ferndale Library, and we do not as a city. Now, could this not have happened on Ferndale ground somewhere?
Yes.
But it didn't because...
But it didn't because they approached us. I took it upon myself to... I felt it was an opportunity to work with Ferndale on a program, a small program, be that as it may. I didn't think there would be necessarily objections. I thought the story and the event is a good one. I don't think it will detract from any event that we are having. You know,
Aside from the
I mean,
excuse me, but aside from the fact that it implies that Pleasant Ridge supports or belongs to or is connected to the Ferndale Library.
I think Pleasant Ridge in general, the residents support the library as a community. Not necessarily, I know our contract is with Huntington Woods, but I guess I didn't look at it as being in conflict with supporting a library, whether it's in Birmingham, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods, or Ferndale.
Well, it's just the proximity of the two communities
I
being
understand.
so close, and the date and the times being so close. I just think it waters down the whole situation. And I wish we had a dragon, but we don't have a dragon. I'm sorry.
Well, and actually, this I take responsibility for it because Sherry, one of the from the school bond issue, I really helped work with some of the people there who are who are very active in the Ferndale Library, and they asked for this because we do a lot of promoting of the Ferndale schools and things in that space.
I'm aware of that.
And I'm hoping that we can make it actually a really dual day because the events are so different, and people aren't going to stay outside, all day or be up at, it might be a nice thing to promote. I mean, I've been talking about them on Facebook, both events together, because
You were aware that there was a conflict between the timings of the two?
Not at the time that, they asked to put the dragon there, and I don't think there's isn't the event in Ferndale at their library?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so, the dragon being there, I think it's such a separate thing from the wonderful event that you guys are hosting for us here, that I don't think it's going to stop any Pleasant Ridge residents from going to our community center to celebrate, World Book Day, and and the event that you're doing. It's a very different thing.
Had we known ahead of time, we could have made some adjustments. The commitment from the Friends of the Huntington Woods Library in Pleasant Ridge made a significant monetary contribution to put this on and host it. And both Stacy and I have been pushing to say, okay, let's do, these events together. Let's, because we're a joint group. And then bang, we run into this, stupid dragon sitting in our park.
No, it's a nice dragon. I just wish we had a dragon.
I'm going to interrupt you there just to also indicate that, as you'll recall, we had an issue where other signs were put up in Stevenson Park for other things, and there was major brouhahas about advertising for anything in Stevenson Park. And
That's a
you
good
may
point.
very well have remembered those major brouhahas and
That's a
not
good
chosen
point.
to go get your own dragon.
Oh. No, we just don't have a dragon. We have a praying mantis, but not.
For
it's done.
future reference, these kinds of conflicts can be avoided if we get some heads up ahead of time and can talk about them, and we look at calendars and see that there aren't conflicts.
David, I can assure you that most of the city commission certainly did not me. Certainly I did not know of it until my wife called me and said, what on earth is a dragon doing going up in Stevenson Park? Now, she did that because she knew I'd drive by and never see the dragon.
Did you have an answer for her?
I said, what dragon? What are you talking about?
I see.
The one fire-breathing one that they showed at the communication meeting. Okay.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Mr. Mayor, if I just could, real quick, I want to extend my apologies to Mr. Taggart and Mrs. Stitcher because I was approached via email on this issue and I didn't realize the conflict in the dates. I'm a huge supporter of libraries in general. My family frequents the Huntington Woods Library pretty much weekly. We love that library. We also, by virtue of our Huntington Woods library card, have access to other local libraries. We do go to Ferndale. The kids love the Southfield Library. One thing my wife and I always rave about is the variety of facilities for reading that our kids have access to in this community. And I want you to know that my family values the relationship between the Huntington Woods Library and Pleasant Ridge immensely. And I take it upon myself also that I was not aware of the conflict, because if I was aware of a conflict, I would have suggested, an alternative date. I will say, I like having the dragon there on a temporary basis. I think it's a fun thing for the kids. My son is a aspiring dragon slayer, and he's been fascinated by it all week. That should not take away from the event that we have scheduled with Huntington Woods on that date, and I can assure you that in my contact with residents between now and then, I will be aggressively promoting both events and encouraging the people I talk to attend both events.
Thank you.
And David, I would say that people on Facebook have ridiculed me for not using social media, and that's fine. I don't believe in government by email communications or social media. And had I been notified that someone was putting the dragon up, I would have said, are you kidding? Put it on the agenda. And the city commission can make that decision.
For both Commissioner Perry and Kuziak, I don't know how we could have not publicized it more.
No, you're correct.
than we did.
You're correct.
No, and I knew about, honestly, I didn't put the dates together because I look at our community center. I think we are such a library-loving kind of community that there is, that people definitely are embracing this event that's upcoming with you guys, and if they embrace, I think there's room for both.
Well, some history. This is not the first event that we've tried joint event.
Oh.
And the last time was not as successful as we'd hoped it would have been.
Oh.
So we were pushing hard this time to get this to work. And this seems like throwing a major wrench in the works as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, if I may just add on that note, I did receive a couple, 3 to be exact, emails about the Dragon on Friday after it was delivered. I responded to those emails, and the 2 residents who had questioned and actually objected completely changed their objections after they understood the story behind it. And I do apologize that people were not notified, because I think a majority of residents would certainly have appreciated the story behind the Dragon. It's quite fun and interesting. I did also receive 2 telephone voicemails over the weekend from residents who were delighted to see the Dragon, had no idea why it was there, but hoped that the city would continue to add art in the park. I have been told, although I haven't seen it, that there is a Facebook site in the city, and the responses to the Dragon has been overwhelmingly positive. So I just will bring you up to date on that.
Well, I may say, Sherry, I have no problem with the Dragon. I am disappointed that it's a conflict with our contracted library service, but I would hope in the future that we can just coordinate this better.
Other governmental reports. Ed, with his assistant not in attendance.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission. I have a comment about the Huntington Woods Library. Soon they will have up Frogtown Mountain for your pleasure, so you can take it out and watch the video. I donated a copy of the DVD to them, and I was thinking, should I give the Ferndale Library a copy of that for their purposes? But something else. Okay.
Key word was little.
Okay, Huntington Woods Environmental Committee invites us residents, Pleasant Ridge residents, to attend their meetings, which are held monthly at the Huntington Woods Library. The next meeting is April 24th. Following, next meeting is May 22nd. They start at 7:30. As you know, Pleasant Ridge doesn't have an environmental group. And if anybody is interested in that, they're welcome to come, invited by Claire Gold, to come to their meetings, and we could start something if we wish, if there's an interest. There might not be any interest at all. But everyone is welcome to come. In addition to that, SACRA is hosting a meeting of all environmental committee members from all the other cities. And that's going to be May 17th and the 19th. You can call me for more details if you wish. Bin Blitz is here for April. You could get bins for half price, or close to half price, $6. And you can call up the city if you're not able to come between working hours. You just give us a call, make the order. The $6 will be on your bill, and the bin will be delivered to your home, most likely on your front porch.
Ted, do we yet have the type of bins you gave Debbie for newspaper collection generally available?
Oh, the small ones?
The small one with the handle?
You'd have to order those separately from a catalog.
But those are available through a catalog?
Through a catalog, those are available.
And the catalog is?
And the catalog is what?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Going to be on the website soon. Can you put it on the website?
I'll dig for it, yes.
Okay.
Amongst my...
Hopefully you didn't recycle it.
No, I
It works well.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay. I'm glad that it works well.
That's great.
Check the mayor's curve on Thursday.
There's some electronic drop-off dates. Now, as you know, Sakura picks up your electronics that you no longer want or want to dispose of. You don't want to put them in the landfill. You want to have them recycled. So to save some gas, you could go to Hazel Park or you could go to Huntington Woods and drop off your electronic devices if you wish. If you can't miss those dates, then you can just plain go to Sakura and drop them off. Huntington Woods has theirs on Saturday, April 22nd this month. And Hazel Park. Oh, I said that wrong. Hazel Park has it Saturday, April 21st.
Okay.
Huntington Woods has it Sunday, May 20th at their DPW.
Oh, May 20th.
Okay, if that makes sense. Now, as you know, I like...
Are both of them at DPWs, each
Yes.
respective city?
Yes, at the DPW. As you know, I like visual aids, and I think everybody's aware of the compost stickers. And, you know, your recycling bin, the blue one or the green one, that says recyclables. But now we have another one called landfill. This is the one that goes to the pit, the big empty hole in the ground that stays there forever. And so anything you put in there stays in there forever, such as chicken bones, old worn out shoes. Okay, and these are available free, and anyone here could take them at any time. Okay.
Great.
I think I'm almost done. Well, if you're having a garage sale, make sure you mention that you'd like to have the garage sale permit information posted on the bulletin board on cable TV so you could have tons of new customers. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
Earth Day is April 22nd, and I think you're going to pass a resolution about that.
Thank you.
Is that right? Yep. Okay, thank you.
Any other governmental reports? City Commission liaison reports. Commissioner Krzyjak, Rec Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. At our rec meeting on the 28th of March, we discussed, at the time we were discussing preparations for our pancake breakfast. I can thankfully report that the pancake breakfast was an outstanding success. I want to extend my thanks to my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Bushy. Helped me. Him and I distributed quite a bit of pancakes that day. There was a lot of hungry citizens. Scott says we had between 250 and 300 people there, and so that was a great turnout. I know the kids really enjoy that, and so I want to thank everyone on the Rec Commission and at the Community Center who helped make that day a success. Also, at the meeting, we discussed during our community enrichment discussion the upcoming appraisal fair, and that will be this Saturday, April 14th, from 10 to 2 p.m. The Rec Commission has had the support of another fellow commissioner. Commissioner Rubino has helped with his expertise in helping to plan that.
That's
And
another name, doesn't it? Road something?
Antiques Roadshow.
Antiques Roadshow. Correct. Thank you, Mayor. And that, like I said, will be Saturday, April 14th at the Community Center from 10 to 2. You can bring your items, and we'll have appraisers on site to discuss some of the history and some of the value of the items that you bring. Please make sure that your items are, manageable. Bringing in a
Piano.
piano or something is not recommended. Hopefully, it's something that is manageable and you can carry easily into the event. We'll have a speaker there also from Quabic, and we also have Paul Haig, there to discuss antique jewelry. So there's a lot of excitement for that.
Is there a cost per item?
I don't know, Scott, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, it's $3 per item that
Yeah,
you
that's
bring in.
what-
We're trying to ask you to limit the number of items you bring in so we don't have long lines. So, a couple items, and that'll be $3 per.
And $1,000 for a piano.
Right.
Correct. And finally, our community garden, Ridge Roots. If some of you were in attendance at last month's meeting or read, there was a naming for our community garden. Ridge Roots was selected, and I don't know. Will we be discussing that later as far as the sign?
Now it's fine.
Okay, we have a beautifully constructed sign to commemorate
Isn't that nice?
our
We can
community
have
garden.
3 strong people moving into camera range.
Yeah, I will just tell you
I think
that
Ted's got it.
Ted's got it.
this is a sign.
He's got it. You got it. Yes.
The signboard itself is one that the sign had to be replaced, and that's been down in DPW for a couple of years. And so our DPW guys knew that we needed a sign. We did look into soliciting a quote to buy a new one, and it was very costly. And so they filled in the old lettering and repainted it, and it has been now recycled, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. So that will be installed on May 5th for the opening of the community garden.
Correct.
Yes.
So May 5th is an event. If you're interested in participating in the Ridge Roots, mark May 5th on your calendar. That'll be the opening event. And starting April 16th, we'll open plots up for sales. Currently, we're selling. If you had a plot last growing season and would like to participate again, you can contact Scott and sign up again. And then as of April 16th, we will open it up to community-wide. So whoever is interested can participate at that time.
Is there a time yet on May 5th?
I don't know, Scott, do we have a time for the events on May 5th?
I think it's 10 a.m.
Can you come to the mic?
I think it's 9.
I'm sorry. It's 9 a.m. to noon. We'll be out there, and we'll have some refreshments, and we're hoping to have one of the local farmers that's like at Royal come out and be able to possibly sell some small plantings and things like that for people to be able to purchase on site.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Whenever I've heard of the Antiques Roadshow, I've said, what is that? So now you said it was antique appraising, and so we had to have Antique Roadshow. Jerry.
Planning Commission DDA, I don't have the pancake brunch, but we did have a meeting on the 26th. We had a budget workshop. The budget workshop was basically looking at goals and objectives that they'd like to achieve in the upcoming future. They talked about many different things, but they're really going to be focusing on the Woodward Crossing here. It's been a concern for years, and they are going to take that up and actively pursue trying to resolve that, along with a couple other, hopefully the foundation and some other groups kick in some money, because it's going to be an expensive endeavor. They did, as I reported last meeting, they added one more concert in the park, so we'll have a total of 3, and I don't have that date as of yet. And we are also, another big undertaking they'll be doing is they'll be updating the master plan, and so that'll be a big project they'll be taking on also. And if anybody's interested, there will be some open positions. Someone had to resign, and so if anybody's interested in planning or DDA, submit some applications for that position. So I
Mr. Rubino, Historical.
Historical Commission. I wasn't able to attend except via phone. Carol was gracious enough to fill me in on what was going on. I guess the Historical Commission is still working on the plaques for the homes. They did get a quote from Pawabig, but I think Sherry had given them some ideas. So they're in the process of coming up with a development of a plaque for any home in Pleasant Ridge that's over 100 years. I think it's a really great idea. Once we get it decided, then we can present it to the commission and let them know what we're doing with that. The other thing is June 9th is going to be the home tour, and right now I think we'll have a final list of homes by the June meeting, so we can tell, or even May meeting, we can tell everybody how many homes. I believe we have 3 and 3 right now with some gardens. There's 3 on the east side, 3 on the west side, and there's a few gardens that are going to be available. Trolley is going to be available. There's going to be a scheduled stopping events where you can pick up the trolley at different locations and take it each place where you want to be dropped off, take your tour, get back on and come back. I think Taco Mama is going to be available to us also. I think the Garden Club's still available. They're going to have some kind of sales there too. Hopefully by next month we'll have it completely put together and we can give a presentation at next month's meeting. That's all I have for now.
And in the future, if there are commission chairs here that want to take their liaisons off the hook, they can feel free to report themselves and
That's
one
why
of their
she's here.
commissions.
That's why Carol came to back
Is there
me up.
anything you want to add?
No, I think Mr. Reno covered it quite nicely.
Commissioner Perry, Ferndale Schools, transportation, and everything else.
Everything else.
Well, this month, and I have to apologize because I left part of my sheet at home, so I'm sorry about this, but the Ferndale High School took on the Ferndale Police Department in dodgeball, and the high school did a beautiful job, and there were a couple Pleasant Ridge residents on that team that did a beautiful job. With the transit group, they have moved forward, and SEMCOG has awarded the analysis study, and so you guys, I think it's going to happen. So it's an 18-month study to study the whole, the alternatives for transit along the Woodward corridor, going all the way from the river up to Pontiac. And so all of that is moving forward beautifully. That's all I have. Thank you.
And in addition to everything else is our court system. And as I reported last time, the state of Michigan passed a statute at the end of February, the governor signed it, that mandates that the Berkeley District Court and the Oak Park District Court, of which we're a part, merge, and that as soon as one of the 3 judges retires, dies, or becomes disabled, we go from 3 judges to 2, but not before then. And all of the implementation of that has been left to the locals, with no funding. But at least we have until July 1st to have a plan. Sherry and I have attended a couple of meetings. There is an attorney's drafting meeting scheduled to begin on Monday and have meetings thereafter. Unfortunately, it was supposed to start Thursday. The court administrator who scheduled it did not bother to see who was free when. So most people couldn't make Thursday, so now it's scheduled for Monday. And some people can't make Monday. At the last meeting, though, the consensus was to strive for a short-term agreement. Short-term being either through the end of this year or through June 30, to be determined June 30th next year, to maintain at least the funding on a status quo basis. Now, the status quo is that when you have a ticket or you have a fine, the city that houses the court gets 2/3. The city that wrote the ticket or assessed the fine gets 1/3. And given the fact that we have 4 months to put that together, that seemed to be the easiest way to start easing into this. Bear in mind that Berkeley's only had Berkeley. They haven't had several cities to deal with. And our courts had several communities to deal with for decades, and nobody can find a written agreement anywhere. And that's probably because there never was one. Financially, the city of Oak Park, which has to finance whatever operations of the court aren't paid by the 2/3 of the fines, which is, what was the mayor's name several mayors ago, Sherry? Rothstein, was that her name?
Charlotte Rothstein.
Charlotte Rothstein always campaigned against the concept that the state didn't fund the court. They lose $250,000 a year in housing the court. Berkeley, which doesn't have to deal with other cities, can just deal with themselves, makes a $400,000 profit. So you can imagine where the turf wars begin if you have to have one place to house the court. I, in a moment of silliness, said, well, probably it makes sense to have it in the middle of all these cities and not in either of your cities. And then someone said, where are you going to house the prisoners? So, not only do you have to, if you build a new court, have to build a new court, which is probably a $5 or $6 million proposition, but, presently, both courts have the lockups right there. If somebody gets loose in court, they not only have the bailiffs right there, but they have the rest of the police department right there. So it makes sense to look seriously at the two locations, neither of which can house 3 judges in a manner that makes sense. Could Oak Park squeeze them in? Yeah. Squeeze is the key word there. Could Berkeley squeeze them in? No. And then by the time you spend money to house 3 judges, either with a new building or by adding on to an old building, 2020 will be here in a blink of an eye, and one of them will retire, and we'll be down to 2 judges. Now, Judge Gubo had a great idea that they put a trailer outside the court. They've been waiting for a tornado to show up to demolish the courthouse and build a new one, but that hasn't worked so far. So that's why we are at the point of saying, let's come up with a governance agreement that decides governance points, but leaves the funding untouched, so that we have more time than 4 months to figure out what to do, and so that no city takes a huge hit in their budget, with little advance warning, because most of the budgets are pretty close to being etched in granite by now in the first place. Some of the propositions thrown away as to how to equitably fund the court. Equitably is one of those great squishy words. 245 versus 400, they both have an idea of equitable. One of the equitable ways would have us not receiving any money, and in fact paying in $40,000 or $45,000. So for us, I think our share of the fines is $23,000, $30,000. So it's not only losing that part of positive income, but would be kicking in, $40,000. For Berkeley,
Permanently?
if we went with that formula, likely, unless Sherry told people to quit writing tickets. Berkeley gets hit worse. It is right now a mess that no one asked for. The judges have to deal with, and if we can't come up with an agreement, then Judge Apple, as presiding judge, decides. Someone's got to be the umpire. She's the umpire. And if we can't come up with an agreement financially, then the default, meaning what happens if you can't come up with some other agreement, is 2/3, 1/3. So a lot remains to be determined. The request of the judge is that the governance council be the mayor of each community or that person's designee, and that the city attorneys for the various cities participating jointly in drafting, which it was a Berkeley's city attorney that's been asked Charlie to take the pen, do you recall?
I
No.
think it's John Carlson.
Okay,
John Carlson, not Berkeley's.
okay. Is he the one that represents two of the cities?
Oak Park and Huntington
Yes.
Woods.
Okay. So he's been the one that the judge is asked to take the pen and do the first draft. She has asked me specifically to participate, and I will, although since they didn't ask me about the meeting schedule, I can't make the first scheduled meeting. So one of the things we have on the agenda for later tonight is that proposed first appointment. Anything else liaison-wise? Public discussion items not on the agenda. And departure of people who want to escape.
Going to celebrate your 80 years?
See you guys on the 19th.
Yes.
Items not on the agenda. Carol?
Carol Zupian, 18 Pemberton. I want to revisit the issue of the dragon. Many of the residents around my home, which is in Pemberton, have been concerned that the dragon will go back to its owner, which I believe is 16 Ridge Road, and that it's going to be permanently housed there like it was in Ferndale. Does anybody know if that's going to happen?
That's not the same dragon.
It's not
is
the
it?
owner.
It's not the owner, it's a
No.
different one? It's everybody.
Different dragon.
Oh, where did the dragon come from?
The dragon is it belongs to a local artist. I believe he lives in Royal Oak.
Okay, then it's a non-issue. Thank you.
Any other items, Frank?
I don't want to get into it. Frank Stutcher, 85 Amherst. I don't want to get into a discussion about this because most of you people have already heard what I had to say about it. There's three issues I'm dealing with. One is, are we going to start a sidewalk maintenance program? I've had a sidewalk now since last November, since that windstorm. Secondly,
Let me to the extent I can answer one at a time. We had budget session last night, and one of the things we asked Sherry to do is to start to develop a sidewalk program for next spring.
Because I see Royal Oak has started about 3 weeks ago. It was in the paper that they started, so I was just curious about that.
And
Second
also,
thing is,
I'm sorry, but one more thing, and also that the opportunity will be available to him to, if it's your property and your sidewalk, with the contractor being in the city, that you can contact them and get a bid for that piece of work,
Probably
if it's your property.
probably the next issue is what caused it. Whether it was a city tree or whether it was
A contractor, or,
yeah, I'm not going to get into that, it's not important. Second issue I have is, we talked about water, big issue. I hope somebody is doing some talking about water leaks and so forth. I'm not going to go any further with that. The third thing is, I seem to be the only one that's made any noise about it or questioned it, although I did talk to Scott about it, and that is, I live right next to the basketball courts, and it looks like a ghetto right now. I have a post sticking up there with no backboard on it. I have another post sticking up with backboard but no rim on it. The tennis courts are a total disaster. The basketball courts cracked, so I'm not sure it's safe even. But the whole area is starting to look pretty seedy, and I think something should be done about it, or looked at least. That's all I gotta say.
Scott, I would ask you to respond as to the basketball courts perhaps next month. Give you some, or if you want to do it right now.
Do we do it right now? Or?
You can do it right now if you're prepared.
Yeah. We actually, it was brought up at a rec commission meeting 2 months ago about the basketball rims and the reasons why they were taken down and why they've kept down. Typically, the people that are playing basketball there were non-residents of Pleasant Ridge, and we were running into some issues, some vandalism, and just some overall safety concerns. There was an incident at Roosevelt School that happened, I believe, about a year ago with the same type of problems. And when that happened at Roosevelt, we took down our last rim at that time too, because the the player just move to the next closest court, which goes to the court. So
is there any type of plan to take the base down at some point?
at this time we haven't discussed that, but the rims, nobody was talking about putting the rims back up at this time.
And then what about the tennis court condition?
The tennis courts they do need a little bit of work, no doubt about it. I think we put new nets up about 4 years ago. We put a new, I forget what you call it, a backstop, like where you can hit the backboard to hit the ball. I think that was 3 years ago, so I can take a look at it and see what needs to be done.
I noticed that when we did the budget workshop last night, we didn't mention any of those items in there, so it wasn't.
Right.
Could I respond?
Money is probably not.
Well, if you come to the microphone.
I certainly will as soon as it's vacated.
Thank you.
First of all, I've been a resident of the city for 45 years, lived in the same spot, and there has been no one closer to those basketball courts in this entire city than in my family. The incident at Roosevelt was unfortunate, I heard. But I was on the Recreation Commission 25, 30 years ago, and I remember one of the ladies who was always having an issue with everything. She brought up that issue about non-residents. Right? A little fact is that is replacement property for 696, federal money in it. We cannot limit that area to Pleasant Ridge residents. It's illegal.
I'm sorry, but he wasn't referring to limiting that to residents. He was concerned about problems.
He said
problems
non-residents. He used the term
at gas
non-resident.
court. Well, non-residents are using it and causing issues. He was concerned the issue over at.
Okay. Secondly, if
Roosevelt.
there is an issue there, and the only issue I have ever had there has been some language which I have spoken to people about and they've stopped. There have been incidents where the people who have come there have picked up glass and cleaned up the area so that they could play in a safe environment, and they are non-residents. And so I guess if there's a problem there, maybe the police department can inform me of this, but I'm 200 feet from it, and I don't have an issue at all. The only issue we ever had was speeding, people leaving rapidly. But we had that same issue with the DPW at 4 o'clock. But we addressed both those issues.
Frank, I'm having a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out what you're asking for. So
what I'm concerned about is if the reason for taking this basket down is violence, it's a myth. If the reason we're taking it down is for potential concern for some possibility things, in 45 years, I've never experienced one. I am not going to live the few years I got left worrying about problems there. I think it's part of our city. We have a playground, we have parks, we have baseball diamonds, we have tennis courts. Why can't we not have a basketball court when it's there?
Well, that's where I was going with my question, because as you made your initial presentation,
I didn't want to make an issue.
I thought what you were asking for is because the backboard and baskets are down, to take out the poles as opposed to reinstate basketball.
No.
That's the problem I was having in understanding what you're asking for.
Well, right now
you're asking for us to reinstate basketball.
I would yes.
Okay.
But I would rather you take everything out than leave it the way it is.
Okay.
But I don't want that. I mean, it's part of our community. We have a pool, we have all these things. Let's use them.
Well, that's why I said, as a person who has to listen to the ball being dribbled, I wanted to make sure I understood what you were asking for. That's
I have no problem with the dribbling of the ball.
Okay. As to water, we did have a lengthy debate about water at the budget session last night.
Okay.
And there has been a resident who's come forward with a lengthy examination of how another city charges for water. And as I said, equitable is a squishy word, and that's the word when I used last week when I talked to them at the coffee. And what this person was espousing is that we adopt a Berkeley model. And what the Berkeley model is you take all your fixed costs, and they do it with residential equivalents. I don't know how we could actually with our commercial base and industrial base, justify spending the money to figure out what a residential equivalent is, and I dare say that probably you and I use more water than Comerica does, so, you know, I think they're a residential equivalent without us hiring a engineer to tell us that. So you would take all your fixed costs, you would divide it by the number of water meters, and you would take that fixed cost and everybody would pay that cost, whether they turned on the water or not. And then you'd have a separate charge just for water. And Scott went through this resident's analysis, and his dissection of the water bills and how they broke down was pretty well spot on. And if you took the Berkeley model, 2/3 of our residents would see their water bills go up, and 1/3 would see their water bills go down. The person sitting here would see his water bill go down by perhaps more than anybody in this room, and probably in the top 5 in the city. And if that proposal comes forward, I will, with a clean conscience, vote no. And if people approve it, I won't go organizing people against it. But you're going to have 740 losers and 420 winners. And if that gets passed, as I said, when I vote no, I've got a clean conscience, and then I'll save $800 to $1,000 a year.
So our only option is a Berkeley plan, or what we have?
We have to come up with the money. Our plan is, always has been, that you charge for a system based on consumption. The Berkeley plans.
Our cost goes towards disposal. Is that correct?
As I said last week, I don't remember. I don't promise to remember. I don't memorize the data in. But we are on what's called a combined system. We are stuck with the George W. Kuhn drain. We didn't ask for the George W. Kuhn drain. We fought the George W. Kuhn drain. Probably in hindsight, people would acknowledge that the George W. Kuhn drain was a mistake, because after that, all the information at the newspapers about, oh yeah, there are these septic tanks in Macomb County that are leaking into the lake. But those are our realities. You know, to try to come up with a different type of separated water system so that we could have separate meters, blah, 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 is billions of dollars. You know, you can't rebuild the water system that we have in this area in good times, let alone in the times we have. So we have to cover the cost, and quite frankly, from the city's perspective, from Sherry's perspective, from Scott's perspective, the Berkeley model is a slam dunk as far as coming up with a budget that guarantees we cover our costs. But there are 740 winners, 740 losers, and 440 winners. And, you know, you could have a hybrid between the two. Most people do it our way. But those are the choices.
And those are fixed costs? I mean, there's no deviation whatsoever in those costs?
Well, they include, for instance, you know,
I mean, there's not like a $175,000 fund for something or anything like that.
You know, we have a city of 3 full-time employees. A major part of those 3 full-time employees' time gets spent on the water department. We have an allocation of part of their salary to the water department. Berkeley has an allocation of 32% of the city manager's salary to the water department. Now, unlike Pleasant Ridge, she has assistants. I'm not knocking what they do, but those are the realities. Not only do we not have a, quote, slush fund, you know, believe it or not, we kept the rates down for a number of years below the level we should have, and we ended up not in a, quote, consent agreement with the state, but in water department doo-doo land, in which I guess we do have a consent agreement to get back up to a certain level of liquidity, pardon the pun, within a 5-year period of time. We may get there sooner. I hope we get there sooner so we don't have to keep, you know, responding to them And as much as people don't like being on sand in Pleasant Ridge in their front yards, it's kept us from having water breaks. But we are supposed to have a fund that is able to respond to a major water break, and we don't have it right now. And we have to get it back there. But I'm all for spreading those fixed costs from the standpoint of my pocketbook. But usually when I go to the polls, even when people don't see how I vote, I don't normally vote my pocketbook. And that's why I've been a proponent of the system we have for so long. And former Commissioner Lenko and I have had many disagreements about that. And we agree to disagree and then have a glass of wine. I'm not sure if I satisfied you, but I've given you an answer to my question. Your question.
And Mayor, if I could, I would say to Mr. Stutchers, I've benefited by digging into these water numbers and having things explained to me and seeing the billing from this perspective, from the requirement to cover our costs as a city, and having an explanation of why we charge what we charge. That has been very beneficial to me. My opinion about this whole water debate is that we need an influx of information throughout the community, and I think that's something that the mayor, I appreciate him taking the time at this meeting and kind of going into it some detail, but I think the broader community would benefit from an explanation of the source of our water bills, because and this is what we discussed last night, some of the choices that we make in the billing, comes down to winners and losers and picking, which residents are going to benefit and which residents are going to pay more, and those are all things that need to be weighed. I think putting that out to the residents, giving them information as to why choices are made on the water will be extremely beneficial, and that's something that I would encourage that each of the commissioners do on their own in conversation with their constituents, the mayor certainly, and maybe in the future it's something that we could formalize out of the city manager's office, some sort of document or explanation as to why we do what we do on the water bills.
Well, sure, you already indicated, once we get through budget and everything else that is of higher pressing priority, to come up with something to post on the website to be an explanation.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to elaborate. I mean, Jason brought up a valid point. I think part of the problem is that there's not enough information out there. We made a commitment last night in our budget workshop that once we get through this budget and we get through some of the key issues, that we're going to make a point to get this information out to residents to understand. But, this is based solely on consumption, and a lot of these other programs are not totally based on that. And if we, like Mayor Costelli mentioned earlier, if you change to a different scenario and set these fixed costs, it doesn't seem to be fair and equitable to the whole community. And
Depending on how you define that squishy word, equitable.
Right.
Equitable, that's exactly right.
Commissioner Lenko.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commission. I just wanted to, George Lenko, 32 Oakland Park, just wanted to weigh in. I didn't hear the details of the proposal from the workshop, but I think I've picked up enough about it to understand what the basis of it is. And I guess I would favor it because the situation you have when you use metered water usage to pay for a fixed cost is the situation we've had for many years that I was sitting up there. During wet years, you get more money than you expected and you're flush with cash. During dry years, you don't get enough and you have to jack up the water rates in order to do it. There's a constant ping pong effect and it's largely unpredictable. Fixed costs are predictable, so if you charge the fixed costs on a fixed cost basis and freed the variable costs, the water usage, the reason we'll all be winners, residents would all be winners, is because at that point you'd be free to water your trees during times of drought without getting hammered by excessive sewer rates.
You wouldn't be free, but you might be tapped versus hammered.
You would pay approximately a third for the water.
It's a joke, George.
Yeah. Yeah, so the true cost of the water is probably a third of what the water bill is, and everything else is fixed cost that we're talking about. And if you move the fixed cost to a fixed allocation, you can start watering your plants again.
But you're forgetting about sewer. And
Well,
sewer's based on, sewer,
It's all in there.
The sewer is the fixed cost that I'm talking about. It's based on, satellite photo of how many square feet we have and the formula.
and how much water you're being used. And how much water.
It's part of each. It's part of each.
So,
It's a formula.
thank you.
And you know what, if the city commission relieves the city manager of the guilt feelings, she'd be perfectly happy to have it be real easy to put into the budget. But that's where you and I have always disagreed, and
And
Take that one later.
Yeah.
that's right.
And Mayor Caselli, as you touched on, there are some hybrids also that were discussed that I think could be an interesting formula for us to really look at moving forward too.
If I could just say something, during our meeting last night, there was a discussion of trying to make some changes and modifications so we can bring the water bills within a reasonable amount, which is almost, if not virtually impossible, at least get something done. But in going to the Berkeley, as Mayor Castelli said, part of the problem is that the smaller users pay more than the larger users per unit, which is not a real fair and equitable way of doing it. But there are things we're looking at. There was a long discussion last night about the water bills. And it's something that we're all going to look at and give an explanation of exactly where those costs come from. George is right. Fixed costs are fixed costs. There's nothing you can do about it. So you have to worry about your water and sewer costs. The only thing different is on dry years is when you use more water and your bills get higher. And when we have wet years, if we don't use the water, we still have those fixed costs. So the answer to that is that you raise rates because you have to acquire enough funds to be able to be solvent. It's an enterprise fund. It has to be completely independent of anything else. So the problem becomes almost a vicious cycle. If you use less water and our fixed costs are still there, then you raise the rates to make sure you get the revenue. If you use a lot of water, you have high bills. So either way...
Just ask, do we ever get a
Frank,
reaction?
you gotta come to the mic. Just because of...
Yes, I'm sorry.
Camera.
It's unanswerable. It's an unanswerable question. I know what.
It's not unanswerable, it's just very extremely difficult. Because
Well, it seems like if you-
what everybody wants is the water
if you
bills to come
raise
down.
rates, well, then if it's really wet, do you lower rates? I don't think so. I've never had that happen to me.
Well, if you have a wet season and you use a lot less water, you still have those fixed costs.
Fine.
And
I
the revenue
understand.
has to be there, and if there's not the revenue there, what happens is we go into a definite situation, state says, get solvent, and you get solvent by raising rates.
Frank, we didn't lower rates, but for a while we didn't raise rates at the rate we should have, and that's how...
That's part of the problem.
Yeah. And, like it or not, today's water is tomorrow's gasoline, price-wise.
I learned fast. I guess the biggest problem I have is I combine my heat, forced air. I have two furnaces. I have a boiler upstairs because I added later, and I have forced air for my downstairs. I have two furnaces. I have electric stove, electric heat, and everything else. And I pay more for water than I do for the other two combined. And that kind of bothers me, because I'm sure they have fixed costs too. End the story.
But
I would say,
I know what you mean.
believe me, especially in the summer months, I feel your pain. When I hear people talk about their water bills, rest assured, I haven't run into anybody whose is higher. So when I give you my philosophical viewpoint, bear in mind that it's taking money out of my wallet, as I'm espousing a system to look after the 740, not the 440. But if people think the other is fair and equitable, life goes on. The overall cost of the water department is not going to go down, it's just going to be spread differently. And usually I hear two types of people complaining, the heavy water users and the people getting the minimum bill, and not the ones in the middle. And believe me, the ones in the middle are going to be among the 740. But if people want to spread it differently, if their version of equitable is different, as I said, you know, if it's a hybrid system, maybe I won't vote no. If it's the Berkeley system or our system, I would vote no and put my savings in the bank, because that's what the commission passed, and life goes on.
Mayor, if I could, I would just, on the water thing, just encourage residents to educate themselves, ask questions, and then just to get a fuller understanding of what we're talking about. And like you said, if the residents of this community feel that there needs to be a change, I think that's something that you'll find the commission would be responsive to. But I think that has to come from the citizens of the community.
And don't expect anything this year, because there's not going to be time between now and July 1st. Go ahead.
And lastly, I did want to touch on Mr. Stutcher's point about the basketball courts, because one of the most beneficial conversations I had with residents last fall was in the Stutcher's household, and I talked to them about how important the basketball courts had been to my family prior to being removed. I have 3 young children. I'm looking for ways to fund scholarships, and basketball seemed like a really great way to do that. The Wellesley lots, you know, as far as our backyards and our driveways are, you know, not NBA regulations, so a private hoop, you know, is not really the best answer. I really, one of the contrasts I have between this community, which I've grown to love, and the community that I grew up in some of, you know, the far reaches of suburbia, were that where I grew up, every driveway had enough room, and all the kids had basketballs and had basketball courts. So you look down the street and there's 10 basketballs courts, and there's 10 kids shooting hoops separately, or you may see a couple kids. What I was encouraged by when I moved to this community was having the centralized location for the basketball nets and having a more communal playground where, yes, we don't have the individual basketball courts in the backyard, but we have a place at the end of the street where, you know, people who wanted to could play basketball. You know, like I said, my kids are getting of age where they can, you know, shoot on a 10-foot hoop. Now that has been removed. I would caution against removing them permanently because of safety concerns. Believe me, I'm very concerned about any incidents that may jeopardize the safety of the residents of this community. But my hope is that there could be some way that we could find out where we could have the hoops up at the park and still maintain a safe environment. I do notice that there are facilities in the region, Ferndale, you know, their park system has in neighborhoods, they do have their hoops still up. I would wonder how they do it. Other municipalities around here have public basketball hoops. So I would just I don't want to write off putting the basketball hoops up, and I certainly would not want to see the posts removed. I just wanted to go on record as a supporter of basketball hoops.
Yeah. Any other items not on the agenda? Back to the agenda, the consent agenda. I understand from last night, Commissioner Krzyjak, you might wish to remove one item from the consent agenda.
Mayor, Your Honor, on further reflection, I'm comfortable with the consent agenda as is.
Sherry, consent agenda.
Mayor, there are 7 items on the consent agenda this evening for consideration. The first is a proclamation recognizing the month of April as Fair Housing Month. The next one is a resolution recognizing the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. The next item is a resolution recognizing the week of April 15th as Severe Weather Awareness Day Week. You will hear sirens during that week, test sirens. The next item is a resolution recognizing April 22nd as Earth Day, a proclamation recognizing May 1st as Law Day, May 1st as Loyalty Day, and finally a request to solicit door-to-door from April 16th through July 31st by Clean Water Action. My recommendation is that the consent agenda be approved.
Back to letter C, Severe Weather Awareness Week. I think the sirens may go off throughout the week, every day.
I don't think it's every day. In fact, do you know the schedule for that, Chief? Oh,
They're going to be frequently. They're not going to be just like on Saturday. So if you hear the siren, I guess look at the sky. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as recommended.
Support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Pacelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is consideration of the resolution regarding the city's participation in the Oakland County Treasurer's Investment Pool. Sherry?
Mayor and City Commission, as you know, we have an investment committee that meets on a quarterly basis. One of the options that was brought to the attention of the investment committee recently is to deposit funds in the Oakland County Treasurer investment pool. Many of the communities in Oakland County have already done this. It was designed to assist local governments in Oakland County as an investment option. They have competitive rates. The investment committee is currently looking for some options. We're investigating several different avenues with financial institutions. My recommendation is that the city immediately deposit $2 million that is immediately available in the Oakland County investment pool. You also have attached and included in your packet a contract that is required to invest in this fund. And my recommendation is that the City Commission approve the contract and have it properly signed.
Any questions?
Sherry, on this, you're saying that it's only 37 cents per thousand on deposit?
That's correct.
Do you know what we're paying now?
On some of our other investments? Yeah. Well, the fees, as you know, are not clearly stated in your statements for municipal investments. We know at least probably 7 of them are more than 37 cents. We found their rates to be lower than any of the others. Many of our funds, we have a laddered investment and diversified portfolio. I couldn't tell you exactly because they are...
Well, one of the comments was that I thought 37 cents on 1,000 is pretty reasonable.
It really is.
Yes, very reasonable. Mr. Mayor.
Before you do, Frank.
Sure.
I have one more question of Sherry. Wasn't there also an issue that this is more liquid than some of our other investments and liquid without penalty?
Penalty, yeah.
That was probably the best selling point of this investment. Often when you invest in CDs or other areas, you do not have immediate access to funds, and so we're very careful about laddering it with the understanding that we may need to get cash immediately. Any and all investments in this pool is available within 24 hours with no penalty. So if nothing else, it's a great place to leave your money while you are at least looking at other options where you may gain more interest.
And I remember a heated telephone conversation I had a few years back with our Penn City treasurer as the banking system was going into total meltdown as far as withdrawing our funds from a bank that it didn't go under, but it was on the list of those that might, that if we took our funds out, we were going to suffer whatever many tens of thousands of dollars of early withdrawal penalty. And I said to her, which would you rather explain to the taxpayers? I don't know what it was, $60,000 penalty for early withdrawal?
It was 45, yes.
Or losing $1 million because you didn't take it out.
Right.
This doesn't expose us to that. Frank, before you make the motion, I would recommend that the suggested wording be amended to add after as recommended, because this provides for email authorizations and facsimile authorizations, and that the authorized signers, I'll go slow for Amy to get it, with respect thereto, be the same as with the city's banking relationships. And that the city clerk be authorized to certify those authorized signers to the Oakland County Treasurer. And with that, is there a motion?
I think so moved.
Saying so move will work. I was going to say what he said.
Okay, go ahead then. I'm sorry, I was trying to save you.
Yeah, that's all right, what he said.
So moved.
And the earlier part was I move the resolution regarding the city's participation be approved as recommended. Is there support?
Jerry was my support.
I would take a vote.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Next, consideration of the authorization for the city manager to request reimbursement of allowable expenses from the Oakland County West Nile Virus Fund. And hopefully no one will ask her to investigate it because we're after a whole $357.33. Sure.
Mayor, this is a fund that is available through Oakland County for expenses incurred by municipalities for elimination of and prevention of the West Nile virus. The city does treat its catch basins every year. I don't think we applied for funding last year because we were able to purchase 2 years' worth of larvicide for that and receive that reimbursement. My recommendation is that the city be authorized to request reimbursement, which is required under the program.
Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move the city manager be authorized to request reimbursement of authorized expenses from Oakland County, from the Oakland County West Nile Virus Fund as recommended.
Is there support?
Support.
Let me take a vote.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is the court issue. And before Sherry gives her report supplementing what I indicated earlier, I would recommend, again, based upon the meeting that we had and based upon the uncertainty as to scheduling, as to whether Charlie's going to be able to attend the meetings, depending on when they now schedule them, that the motion be for the mayor or his designee to be appointed. Sherry, can you give your report?
Mayor and city commissioners and members of the public, I believe the mayor has summarized the actions recently taken by the governor to consolidate the court system. Pleasant Ridge has concerns, as it should be, because we are in a position where we could lose all funding from the court, which would have a significant impact on the city's budget. It's important that Pleasant Ridge be at the table during this process and all of the subsequent discussions. And the Judge Apple, who will have the ultimate authority to decide what the agreement will look like, has graciously allowed everyone to have some input at this point. So the first step is to formally appoint the mayor or his designee as the representative to the 45th District Court Management Council. And my recommendation agrees with the mayor that it should be his designee. It looks like we may even have to appoint someone else to attend.
And I think long run, what they want and what they wanted out of these appointments was not so much who's attending the lawyers' drafting meetings, but to have us all formally indicate that who the designee to the long-term council will be. Once that's formed, probably at the next meeting.
I think the first meetings will be critical because I think that's going to determine whether or not Pleasant Ridge's funding will be impacted.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying that long-term, what the judge has recommended is that the management council for the court be the 5 mayors or the mayor's designee, separate and apart from the drafting sessions. And they did ask for those appointments going into the drafting sessions. Questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the mayor or his designee be appointed to the 45th District Court Management Council to assist in preparation of a joint operating management agreement between the 5 jurisdictions being served by the 45th District Court.
And it is my intention that in addition to the city attorney representation, that I will attend all those meetings that I am able to attend, and hopefully they'll be scheduled better in the future. Is there support?
I'll support.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costello?
Yes, motion carries. Next item, number 14, consideration of participating with the Ferndale Public Library Festival to celebrate a day of books and roses, Sunday, April 22nd, 2012. Sherry?
I don't know what else you would like me to add to this, since we talked about it under public discussion. You know, again, I apologize to the City Commission for not having time to present it to you before the dragon was delivered, but I have a formal motion, just simply that we participate, allow the Ferndale Public Library, Friends of the Ferndale Public Library to display the art that ties in with the Day of Books and Roses at the library and promotes World Reading Day.
I do have a question, Sherry. Is this the date that you're reckoning? Is this the 22nd? Is this the same day that conflicts with our library? Or is
April
it a different day?
22nd.
It is?
Same day.
It's
Same
the same
day.
day? Okay.
This says April 23rd.
Oh, it's Sunday, April 22nd.
That mine says the 22nd.
And Sherry, do we have any
They said
events?
22nd at the beginning, that says 23rd at the end.
Right at the end, and the motion says 23rd.
Go ahead, Commissioner Chrysiak.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we be clear on the events that are scheduled on April 22nd for this associated with the Dragon at Stevenson Park?
Well, here's what I know. There is an event planned for this Friday where the dragon will be fired up.
Mm-hmm.
What does fired up mean?
Fired up means that he actually shoots flames.
That
He
would be
did
cool.
visit Royal Oak, and it was quite popular, well received. Residents are invited to attend that.
Bring your own.
There will be another event scheduled on...
Bring your own marshmallows.
There will be another event similar to that on Friday the 20th. And then the Ferndale event at their library is on the 22nd. I don't know much about that. That isn't... The whole goal was to display the dragon and tie it in with the story and plan these fire-ups in our community.
Mr. Taggart.
For information, the Sunday event for the Ferndale Library runs from 11 to 6. It's a $5 event, and to support the Ferndale Public Library. Since we already have a public library, I have some issues with putting in our minutes that we're supporting another library and not our own.
I have a question, Mr. Taggart. So the 20, I'm a little confused here. So the 22nd, are we holding an event that same day?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's what I wanted.
In the Ridger,
Okay. I just wanted to make
the
sure
kids'
we're...
event is the drum event, and then the adult event is the ragtime pianist event. And the Garden Club, I think, is doing the refreshments for parts and portions. And the rest is being picked up by the Friends of the Ferndale Library. Huntington Woods Library wasn't there. I really have objections to participation within it's in conflict. If it was not in conflict, I'd have no problem.
And Mr. Taggart, one of the things I'll make sure to, with all the people that I talk to in the community, and there are some methods that through Facebook I do reach out to a lot of residents, and I'll make sure that we promote the event very heartily. As a private citizen, I will make sure that it's a
It
very...
seems that it was promoted kind of backdoorish when the Dragon came in, so I think this probably make amends for that, but I really doubt it. So I would really prefer that the city not participate with another library, which we're not affiliated with.
Under the, okay.
I believe the libraries actually support each other, and I'm not sure because I have not talked to the Huntington Woods Library, but I would be surprised if she would object to this program being,
So they weren't asked ahead, that's hard to...
no one was asked ahead, Mr. Tiger.
Well, we also have a letter received today from a lawyer in the community raising issues as to whether the spikes on the Dragon are a danger.
He just thought it was unsafe.
He thought it was unsafe.
Damn lawyers.
And I'm going to phrase this carefully. I am not going to disagree with him. I'm not going to disagree with him, but I'm not going to disagree with him. So I would suggest that if we had been approached by anybody to lease land from the city. Stacy, let me please finish. And I'm not proposing that we charge them $100,000 for the spot. I think $50,000 is more than fair. We would, at a minimum, as we do with the foundation, when we allow them to have a host liquor liability or host one-day liquor license, require that they name us, they provide us with an insurance policy so that if we get sued, it's on their insurance policy and not ours. And in trying to bridge the gap between the Dragon's already there, we're all in favor of libraries and readings, but we are in conflict with our own event, but the Dragon's already there. I would again suggest rewording on the suggested motion somewhere along the lines of that the city of Pleasant Ridge allow use of Stevenson Park to display an art sculpture to promote and recognize World Book Day, April 22nd, 2012, by the Ferndale Public Library based upon the requirement that the city of Ferndale name the city of Pleasant Ridge as an additional name insured with respect to its liability policy as to the Dragon and its location.
You can't ask the city of Ferndale, that's a separate entity for the city of Library. We can ask the library board, I suppose.
Well, the city of Ferndale could choose to do it, so we can make it the city of Ferndale and or the library board.
I'm not sure they can, but I will follow up on it
That
tomorrow.
way, since we are on short notice, you would have your authorization either way. They can provide it through the city, they can provide it through the library board, I don't care which. And
And if they don't, do you want the Dragon removed?
that would be my condition of the motion.
Well, I would include that in the motion then.
And, you know, it's one thing to worry about the legal liability should something happen. It's another thing to have the sleepless nights if things happen. So,
We have that liability anytime we use that park or any of our
Absolutely.
parks. I absolutely
Absolutely.
understand that.
that's my proposed rewording of the motion, but I don't make motions. So.
I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, my only problem with this whole thing is that it's in conflict with our program that we have going on in Huntington Woods. So I prefer not to even do the motion. Just avoid the whole scenario.
Well, I need a
And I will
motion.
tell you, she needs some sort of motion, either approve it staying there or take it out.
Because I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I actually think the Dragon's kind of cool looking. I mean, I just don't like the whole idea of it conflicting with our library service on the same day that our library is promoting a program.
The
I'll need
Dragon's there,
direction.
stay or leave. She needs direction.
It's a bad situation.
Oh, but it's
I
not a
can't
bad
vote for this motion
situation.
the way it is, I'm sorry.
The way that the mayor proposed it?
No, I can vote for that. I can.
I mean, that's fine, because if the dragon needs to be removed, I need to let the library know
Can you
tomorrow.
read that motion to me, Mr. Mayor?
I move that the city of Pleasant Ridge allow use of Stevenson Park, I guess. Hold on here.
To display an art sculpture.
No. Through what date?
April 23rd.
Are they going to take it out right after that? Is that the proposal?
They're taking it out on April 23rd.
City of Pleasant Ridge allow use of Stevenson Park through April 23rd, 2012 to display an arts sculpture by the Ferndale Public Library to promote and recognize World Book Day, April 22nd, 2012, as recommended by the city manager based upon the requirement that the city of Ferndale and/or the Ferndale Library Board name the city of Pleasant Ridge as an additional named insured with respect to its liability policy, failing which the dragon be removed. And Amy, I'll be glad to give you my notes.
The question I have is that, first of all, I think we're put in between a rock and a hard place because we didn't know about the dragon, and now we're asked to make a motion to leave it there.
Or be the bad guys to say, take it out.
Exactly. So I guess my question is, do you think that they will be able to meet those requirements in a timely fashion to get it before the event takes place, or they fire it out?
I have no idea.
Adding somebody as a named insured, if you want to do it,
It's pretty simple.
is a phone call and typically no extra expense.
Exactly.
It's just the fact of which insurance policy it goes against if something happens. Stacy, you had something to say.
I just want to extend an invitation to each and every one of you to come to our event at 4 Ridge Road at 1 o'clock. Bring your children for the 1 o'clock program. Stay for the 3 o'clock presentation. And if any of you are so inclined, you may bake cookies. And we would appreciate any cookies that you might donate to the affair. There will be small refreshments. We'd like you all to show up. Thank you.
Not to make this motion more wordy, but perhaps by second motion, that a sign not to exceed the size of the one presently there promoting our event also be allowed to be placed in Stevenson Park, if you desire.
Bring my praying mantis.
Don't ask for more art. If you want to, and if you don't, at least you would have the permission if someone makes that separate motion. But let's go with the first motion as to Godzilla. Is there such a motion?
You mean as the original motion as written?
No, as I reworded it first.
I would accept the mayor's motion, wordy as it is.
I second that.
If I had more time, it would have been more concise. Questions, comments, discussions?
I just want to reemphasize my disappointment in the conflict because, like I said earlier, books and reading are a huge part of my family's life, and any event that could promote reading, I think we should have more of. So I think this is an incredibly inopportune scheduling conflict, but having multiple reading events in a community is something that I wish we had the problem every week. I wish we were trying to make room on the schedule for reading events every week. Okay. So it is with that understanding that I want the residents who are concerned about the conflict to know that I will commit to promoting the Huntington Woods Pleasant Ridge event to the best of my abilities and do everything I can do, including baking cookies, to ensure that that event is a success.
And I would comment also that sometimes there's nothing wrong with saying You've known about this event a long time. I wish you would have contacted us in a timely manner, but because you're contacting us at the last minute, the answer has to be no. We're sorry, but the answer has to be no. And then, I mean, because I don't think they threw this thing together in the last 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had a V8 moment to, let's put a dragon in Stevenson Park, as opposed to one of their own parks. And, you know, we are where we are. Any further discussion? May we take a vote?
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to allow a similar size sign if the Huntington Woods Pleasant Ridge contingent desires it, promoting the Pleasant Ridge event?
So moved.
I second it.
Mayor, that would be allowed without a motion. There is a sign ordinance that addresses that.
I guess I'd rather have us be on record in favor of it regardless.
Oh, okay.
Who seconded it?
And
Commissioner
Perry.
May we take a vote?
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Stacy, David, I'm
Stacy, I'll
sorry,
get
but
you
we are where we
cookies
are.
too.
Yes, go ahead.
I just
At the microphone, you know the rules.
Just a request, could it go on the marquee, our event, on our city marquee?
I don't think that takes our approval. That's between you and Scott, and I'm sure it can be done.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of establishing a public hearing to solicit comments on an amendment to the Pleasant Ridge zoning ordinance regarding outdoor dining areas. Sherry?
Mayor, it is my understanding that this item is going to be removed from the agenda this evening to allow the city commission more time to study the matter.
I know we went back and forth the study session on this. I thought that the consensus at the end of the day was let's have the public hearing, and we might not vote to adopt the ordinance basically at the meeting. We might or we might not, but at least we would use the opportunity to get feedback from the public, because both restaurants that are in favor of this are champing at the bit, and if we put it off a month or two, then they're off another year. And if the answer after the public hearing is no, then at least they know the answer is no. If the answer is yes, they know it's yes. If it's maybe, they still have a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
So
then I will address it. That was my misunderstanding.
we went back and forth, I understand.
So you have before you this evening a proposed ordinance for outdoor dining. And as you just explained, we have a couple owners of restaurants that exist today and potentially one in the future or two. And there is an interest and has been expressed by both to add outdoor dining to the establishment. There are certain requirements outside the city's ordinance restrictions, and that would be a permit would be required by the Michigan Department of Transportation, and they would actually have to be, the plans would be reviewed by the building official, the city administration, the planning consultant, then the police and fire inspectors, and it is something that would be dealt with at the level of the planning commission. A site plan review would be required, which means that there would be public notification as well for solicitation of comments on this matter. The ordinance you have before you is a draft ordinance that combines many of the requirements in neighboring cities and those around the state. It's been reviewed. It was originally reviewed by the Planning Commission a long time ago, and changes were made. Mr. Iko Angeli has reviewed it, and the city attorney, of course, had his packet delivered over the weekend. So the first step in the process of adopting an ordinance is to establish a public hearing by the City Commission. And I am recommending that the public hearing be scheduled for next month at the regular meeting, May 8th, 2012 at 7:30.
Sherry, there's one thing I don't want to go into tonight, but when I read it over the weekend, I was unclear of, and so if we could have it cleared up before the public hearing, there was something in here about putting up and taking down a deck or some such thing. You know what I'm referring to? But I had trouble visualizing anyway what we were talking about.
I don't remember seeing that in there.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, there's something in here that
I'll make
if
a
their
note.
plans include to do that, it doesn't give them
Okay.
carte blanche to do it.
Right.
If their plans, include that, it had to be taken up, had to be taken down by certain dates, it couldn't be stored outside, and I'm just having,
Okay.
and maybe the problem is, I'm trying to visualize it in the context of the two restaurants
I know.
we have, which I can't see any way that could apply, as opposed to if a restaurant went in the former AAA building or some such thing.
Well, you might be referring to the word platforms instead of
That's
deck.
it, that's
Yes.
it. Where is that?
It's at the bottom of page 2.
Of which
Is that
document?
16 or 15?
Oh, I'm sorry, of the draft of the ordinance.
We have 15 and 16, which one is it?
It is
Look at the top right corner.
I think it's 15,
15,
Mayor.
Okay,
at the very bottom of page 2.
I'm in the wrong document. Hold on.
Oh, there it is.
Platform shall be enclosed by a metal railing, wood railing, or other suitable material approved by the Planning Commission. Railing height must be 42 inches.
So that's basically allowing a two-decker outdoor area potentially?
I don't think that's a two-decker, no. That's a platform
Just
outside of the
Platform,
restaurant.
Just like 2 or 3 feet up as opposed to, I'm trying to visualize what that
Right.
might be.
No, I think it could be flush with the existing sidewalk, or it may have a step up. But if there's a step up, then they have to meet handicap
Okay,
requirements.
so we're not talking, because of the ADA compliant language, we're not talking about a second story, so to speak, because they need an elevator.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody make the motion?
No.
Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move that the City Commission schedule a public hearing on Tuesday, May 8th, 2012 at 7:30 p.m. to solicit public comments on an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance and an ordinance to amend the Pleasant Ridge City Code regarding outdoor dining areas.
Is there support?
Support.
Can we take a vote?
Commissioner Kuziak?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubino?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushy?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Mayor Costelli?
Yes, motion carries. Next item is City Commission Coffee House meeting. Chair.
Mayor, this is on the agenda at your request. As you know, Commissioner Perry, and I believe Commissioner Krzyjak as well, started to host what I titled a coffee house get-together after they had expressed, Commissioner Perry expressed the idea of getting together with residents in a casual setting and making themselves available and all of the City Commission available to residents in a much less formal atmosphere. So far, 3 events have been scheduled and held, and the feedback that I have received from Commissioner Perry is that residents that attend, they like it, and she has found it to be a positive experience. And I have shared all this with the other commissioners. Some of you have attended, 1 or 2 of them. So with that, in a conversation with the mayor, it is appropriate that if we are going to schedule these on a regular basis so that we could do a proper job of advertising and allowing people to make room in their calendars for such a meeting, my recommendation was to present a formal motion. So that, we agreed on the date being the Thursday before the regular City Commission meeting. And having said that, it's much easier to schedule something on a regular basis in your calendar and cancel it if need be than to have something suddenly come up and you already have a conflict. So that's my recommendation. If there's further conversation about the coffee house, Mayor, I'll leave that to you.
Well, my recollection is that the coffee house started, I think by Ann, inviting people and inviting all the commissioners, and part of the reason it ended up being posted as an official city commission meeting was concern over whether or not there was an Open Meetings Act violation or not to have the coffee house. At that point in time, I did not envision that it would be a regular thing or a monthly thing. And certainly in hindsight, Sherry, I would think you would agree, you would never now concur that it be on the Thursday of packet week. So regardless, whether we had it, I would recommend a different date.
The Thursday of packet week.
But, you know, I'm not sure that I disagree that it isn't a good idea to have something like this on an annual basis or maybe a semi-annual basis. I think monthly is too much, and I think it does have all the trappings of a city commission meeting. It's posted as a city commission meeting, except the city manager doesn't make the agenda. The agenda wasn't circulated ahead of time. The city manager's not attending. The clerk's not attending. We talk about transparency. Frank talking about the water bills here tonight is perfectly transparent. Anybody who wants to see it on cable TV or YouTube can see it. Our talking about water bills last week was 7 people sitting around with 3 out of 5 commissioners with a presentation made by a citizen who put a lot of work into it. And as I said, Scott said his numbers were dead spot on. But, you know, is that transparent? I don't think so. If our goal is to be transparent in government, then the time to make those types of presentations are as Frank did tonight. As I said, I have no objection if the two of you want to have coffee houses. But I do not think they should be posted as regular city commission meetings.
So even city commission coffee? That kind of you still feel that's...
You know, it's posted as a regular meeting. Ostensibly, I'm not even sure if it was posted as a study session. Ostensibly, we could have voted to adopt something.
Well, and I think
there was a quorum of us there.
We made very clear in like a meeting that both Commissioner Rubino and Commissioner Bushy were in, that, you know, we were not making any decisions there, but it's like that we would remember topics and bring them forward to the commission meetings. And there, oh, sorry.
Nice.
And there's a nice availability to commissioners, to residents to be able to do a longer presentation like the one that the resident did with the water presentation, which would not be, you know, you could not do it here.
And I'm only taking issue at this point with it being posted and being deemed a regular city commission meeting or a special city commission meeting.
I was at this last meeting, and the only reason I knew about it was Facebook, and I've never seen it posted as a regular commission meeting. I didn't
Actually, if you were at the last meeting, you didn't know about the last meeting, because I was at the last meeting and you weren't there.
Well,
see what I'm talking about?
All right, see. Well, there you go. Therefore, it's not regular, is it? And therefore, meetings are usually regular.
Well, that's this proposal, but the question is whether we needed
immaterial, irrelevant
meetings.
All those good things. Anyway, my point is, I thought it was very informative. I thought I got more said there than I did tonight. I was here, I felt confined by time and tying up people who have no interest in that. The discussion we had there were probably about 30 people at that meeting, and about 25 of them were very, very interested in the same issues I was interested in. And they were very, very clear about this. I remember Frank and was it Jerry or Scott?
Jerry was there.
Yeah, okay, you said we can't make this agreement because we would be violating the Open Air Act. And so they were very, very clear about it, and I thought it was a very informal, very nice thing. Now, should it be scheduled every month? I don't think so. I think you're right. I think bi-monthly would be nice. By that, because really otherwise you're inviting a gripe session, truthfully. And I don't think that profits anybody. I think it's too much of a good thing is no longer a good thing. So I would think that bi-monthly would be maybe even quarterly. But I do think it's a good concept. I appreciate all of you being involved in it, and I enjoyed it. And I thoroughly, as a citizen, I thoroughly then would recommend it.
Yeah, I don't know that quarterly is too much. I think monthly is too much. And again, I join issue with whether it should be deemed a regular city commission meeting, because